It was a disheartening night for the two men who came up short of gold in the UFC 273 title fights on Saturday night in Jacksonville. In the main event, Korean Zombie Chan Sung-jung gets pretty much brutalized by Alexander Volkanovski en route to a fourth round TKO, a disappointing loss for the Korean Zombie, and you could just see the emotion he had afterwards, shedding tears inside the octagon, really just disheartened and hurt to his core by this defeat. And he even brought up the possibility of retirement after this fight, said he has some thinking to do about his future. If he does decide to go out, I think he's had a great career, obviously one of the most exciting fighters in mixed martial arts history, and no shame if he decides at this point, 35 years old, to hang up the gloves. But for the sake of this video, let's assume the Korean Zombie does decide to move forward with his career and have some more fights. Definitely still a lot of fun and intriguing matchups for him in the featherweight division, and one that I would be interested in seeing would be against Giga Chikadze. Chikadze, of course, coming off a pretty tough loss to Calvin Kattar, but he is still a guy who is ranked in the upper tier of this 145-pound division. Both guys coming off unfortunate losses, but I think a pairing between them would have excitement written all over it. I think it would be a pretty thrilling matchup to do at 145 pounds and has fight of the night written all over it, in my opinion. So I think those two should be paired up in the wake of this loss for the Korean Zombie, assuming, again, he decides to continue competing. And then in the co-main event, Petr Yan, unable to reclaim that undisputed UFC bantamweight title, loses a split decision to Aljamain Sterling in a highly competitive fight. He came oh so close to getting the victory, one judge seeing it in his favor, but was not able to make it convincing enough to have the other two judges score it in his favor. I think Petr Yan is still incredibly talented and a factor in this bantamweight division for as long as he wants to be. I think a lot of fun fights for him coming up and a lot of intriguing matchups, and one I would be curious to see as Yan tries to work his way towards a third fight with Sterling, which I think is a very realistic possibility down the line. I would love to see him fight Sterling's teammate and cornerman for this fight in Merab Dvalishvili. Dvalishvili on a great run in his own right, putting together victory after victory, and I think he would be a compelling style matchup. Obviously, there is the narrative of him being Sterling's teammate, and I think that dynamic would be very interesting. Sterling would probably be in the corner of Dvalishvili for that fight with Yan, so I think there's a great narrative that you could put together there. The style matchup is intriguing too. I think that would be a big name fight, could easily headline a fight night or be a complimentary matchup on a pay-per-view main card, something of that sort. So that's where I'd like to see Yan go in the wake of this defeat as he tries to get back to the UFC title. Of course, this was a night that was not ideal for the Korean Zombie or Yan, but I still think as long as they're wanting to push forward, some fascinating matchups for them in their respective weight classes.